Why are our winters so unpredictable? One week, it's mild, the next, we're buried in snow. It might seem random, but there's a hidden force at play, the polar vortex, a swirling mass of cold air high above the Arctic. This past winter, 2025-26, showed just how powerful it can be. December was mild and wet, but January brought a brutal freeze, all thanks to changes in the polar vortex. Understanding this atmospheric giant isn't just for scientists, it helps us all prepare for whatever winter throws our way. So let's look up and discover the force that shapes our coldest, most dramatic season. The polar vortex isn't a storm. It's a vast, spinning pool of frigid air that circles high above the Arctic, forming a kind of invisible crown around the North Pole. Unlike a blizzard or a snowstorm, the polar vortex is a persistent feature of our planet's atmosphere, always present but most powerful during the winter months. Locked over the North Pole in winter, this swirling mass of cold air is held in place by strong winds that whip around the Arctic, creating a barrier that keeps the coldest air trapped far to the north. When the polar vortex is strong, it acts like a fortress, with icy walls that prevent the frigid Arctic air from escaping. This fortress effect means that the coldest temperatures stay locked away, far from most of Europe and North America. As a result, Europe often experiences milder, wetter winters, with the jet stream, a fast-moving ribbon of air, flowing smoothly from west to east, keeping the worst of the cold at bay and allowing for more typical winter weather. But sometimes, the polar vortex weakens, the fortress walls begin to crumble, and the once stable barrier starts to break down, allowing the cold air to escape its Arctic prison. When this happens, the jet stream buckles and twists, creating pathways for lobes of icy Arctic air to spill southward. These cold blasts can plunge deep into Europe, North America, and even parts of Asia, bringing sudden and severe winter weather. These disruptions are when the polar vortex stops being an abstract concept and starts shaping our daily lives, turning ordinary winter days into unexpected snowstorms, icy winds, and record-breaking cold snaps. The strength or weakness of the polar vortex can mean the difference between a gentle, peaceful winter and a season of chaos, with wild swings in temperature and weather that can catch us all by surprise. In many ways, the polar vortex is the ultimate winter gatekeeper, silently standing guard over the northern hemisphere and deciding whether we face a mild season or a winter to remember. A sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW, is one of the most dramatic and fascinating events that can happen in our planet's upper atmosphere. It's a phenomenon that meteorologists watch closely because it can have far-reaching effects on weather patterns all over the northern hemisphere. Essentially, an SSW is the event that knocks the polar vortex off balance. The polar vortex is a swirling mass of cold air that usually stays locked around the Arctic, acting like a barrier that keeps frigid air contained near the pole. But during an SSW, something extraordinary happens. In just a matter of days, temperatures in the stratosphere, about 10 to 50 kilometers above our heads, can soar by as much as 50 degrees C. This rapid warming isn't caused by the sun, but by powerful atmospheric waves generated far below that crash upward and dump energy into the stratosphere. This sudden burst of energy disrupts the polar vortex, causing it to slow down, wobble, or even split into two or more pieces. When the vortex is weakened or broken apart, it loses its grip on the cold Arctic air. As a result, that cold Arctic air can escape and surge southward, sometimes reaching as far as Europe, Asia, or North America. This sets the stage for major cold outbreaks, snowstorms, and even unusual weather patterns in places that don't normally see such extremes. There's usually a lag between the SSW event and the weather changes we feel on the ground. What starts high above can take days or even weeks to work its way down, but it's a crucial warning sign for meteorologists and the public alike. That's why meteorologists keep a close eye on SSWs. They dramatically increase the risk of a beast from the east event, where bitterly cold air sweeps in from Siberia or the Arctic, bringing disruptive winter weather. Of course, an SSW doesn't guarantee a deep freeze every time, but it certainly loads the dice for dramatic weather flips. It's a reminder of how interconnected our atmosphere is, and how events high above can shape the weather we experience on the ground. Winter 2025 began quietly, with December dominated by mild Atlantic air and a strong, stable polar vortex. Temperatures were above average, and the idea of a white Christmas seemed laughable. Wildlife and plants responded. Hedgehogs stayed active, and spring bulbs emerged early. But the rain brought its own problems: saturated ground, muddy paths, and rising rivers. The mildness lulled us into complacency, but meteorologists saw trouble brewing above. By late December, models hinted at a major SSW on the horizon. On the ground, nothing had changed yet. The stage was set for a dramatic reversal. In the first days of January, a dramatic shift began high above the Arctic. A sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW, hit, an event that meteorologists had been watching closely, knowing it could unleash chaos on the weather below. The polar vortex, a swirling mass of cold air, split apart. For several days, though, the world at ground level seemed unchanged. People went about their routines, unaware of the brewing storm above. Then, almost suddenly, the jet stream buckled and twisted. A powerful high-pressure system settled over Scandinavia, acting like a wall that blocked the usual mild Atlantic air from reaching Europe. Instead, icy winds from Siberia surged westward. The infamous beast from the east had returned, bringing with it memories of past winters and a sense of foreboding. Temperatures plunged across the continent. The UK, especially the southeast and Scotland, was hammered by relentless snow. Familiar landmarks vanished beneath thick white blankets. Roads and airports ground to a halt. Trains stalled on frozen tracks, and schools closed their doors, leaving families scrambling to adjust. After a mild December lulled everyone into a false sense of security, the country was caught completely off guard by the sudden onslaught. Overnight, daily life was transformed. Commuters found themselves battling through knee-deep drifts, cars and buses stranded in the snow. Local councils worked around the clock, but even snowplows struggled to keep up with the relentless accumulation. Health services were stretched thin, responding to a surge in weather-related injuries and illnesses. Vulnerable people, especially the elderly and those without adequate heating, suffered the most. Towns and countryside alike were transformed into stark, silent landscapes, muffled by the heavy snow. The polar vortex had made its presence felt in the most dramatic way possible, reshaping daily life and the very look of the land. The lesson was clear. Winter's calm can flip to chaos in just a matter of days, catching even the most prepared off guard. In the end, it was as if a puppet master had pulled the coldest, most powerful strings, reminding everyone of nature's unpredictable might. February brought wild swings. The Scandinavian high faded, letting the Atlantic push back. The result? A battle of air masses. One day freezing, the next rain and gales. Rapid thaws and heavy rain triggered flooding as saturated ground couldn't cope. Rivers burst their banks, and communities scrambled to respond. The constant changes made planning impossible and dominated headlines. This volatility was the direct result of a fractured polar vortex, letting both Arctic and Atlantic weather fight for control. By month's end, the Atlantic had won, and winter ended as it began, mild, wet, and windy. The season was a roller coaster, all orchestrated from high above. The winter's wild swings weren't just dramatic. They disrupted daily life. The January freeze crippled transport, stranded drivers, and overwhelmed health services with injuries and illness. Energy demand soared, raising concerns about fuel poverty. February's floods damaged homes, ruined crops, and forced evacuations. Farmers struggled with saturated fields, and communities faced huge cleanup costs. Yet, adversity sparked community spirit. Neighbors checked on each other, volunteers cleared snow, and people rallied to help. The winter revealed our vulnerability, but also our resilience. The polar vortex may pull the strings, but our response defines the outcome. With unpredictable winters, preparation is key. For cold snaps, insulate your home, layer up, and keep a winter kit in your car. For floods, sign up for warnings, keep sandbags ready, and move valuables upstairs. Good boots and waterproofs are essential. Most importantly, look out for vulnerable neighbors. Community support is our best defense. A little planning keeps us safe, warm, and dry, no matter what winter brings. We can't control the polar vortex, but we can control our readiness. Stay prepared, and winter loses its power to surprise. The 2025-26 winter was a lesson in how the polar vortex shapes our lives. From mild calm to brutal freeze and back, it all started high above the Arctic. As the climate changes, these disruptions may become more common. That's why scientists' warnings about SSWs matter. They give us time to prepare. Understanding the vortex turns us from passive victims into proactive citizens. By watching the stratosphere, we can brace for whatever winter brings. The polar vortex is a reminder of nature's power and our ability